Have you ever wondered why the people who seem the wisest often say the least? Think about it. The ones who truly move with purpose don't make noise about it. They don't announce every decision, every plan, every thought. They observe, they listen, and when they speak, their words carry weight. Not because they talk often, but because they talk with intention. In a world addicted to attention and oversharing, the intelligent choose a different path. The path of silence, not the silence of fear, not the silence of weakness, but the silence of strength, because silence is power. We live in an age where people post their every thought, feeling, and move, where validation from strangers is mistaken for connection, where noise is confused with influence. But the intelligent understand something deeper, something most people miss. They know that real growth, real success, real transformation happens in silence, not behind a screen, not in public, but in stillness, in privacy, in quiet. There's a reason the most successful people often seem reserved. It's not because they have nothing to say. It's because they've learned that not everything needs to be said. They've learned that energy is precious, that attention is currency, and giving it away carelessly drains your power, your focus, and your momentum. When you speak too soon, when you share too much, when you open the door too wide, you invite noise into your mind. You allow opinions, criticism, and distractions to cloud your direction. And that's how dreams begin to fade. Not because they're impossible, but because they were exposed too early, too loudly to the wrong audience. But when you keep things to yourself, you protect your vision. You give it time to breathe, to grow, to strengthen in the dark before the world ever sees the light. And that's what intelligent people do. They understand that silence creates space, space to think, to evolve, to stay rooted in what matters. They're not trying to impress anyone. They're not addicted to being seen. They're focused on becoming. And that's why they win, not just on the outside, but inside too. Because silence gives you clarity. When you don't have to explain yourself to everyone, you stop doubting yourself. When you're not looking for constant feedback, you begin to trust your own judgment. You develop inner peace, inner direction, inner fire. And those things can't be faked. They can't be posted. They can only be built in silence. This is what the world doesn't tell you. The louder you are, the more vulnerable you become. The more people know about your dreams, your pain, your moves, the more control they have over you. The more opinions you invite, the more confusion you create. The more noise you allow in, the more distant you grow from your true self. But the intelligent, they guard their mind. They protect their peace like it's gold. Because it is. And here's the truth. You don't owe anyone your thoughts. You don't have to explain your process. You don't have to announce your next step. What you're building in silence is nobody's business until it's done. And once it's done, you won't have to explain it, because your results will speak louder than anything you could say. So, if you've ever felt out of place for being quiet, if you've ever been judged for moving in silence, if you've ever questioned whether your privacy was a weakness, let this be a reminder it's not. Your silence is not emptiness. It's focus, it's strength, it's discipline, it's control. And in a world that's constantly screaming, those who move in silence stand out the most. Because they're not chasing applause, they're chasing growth. They're not feeding egos, they're feeding purpose. The reward for watching till the end? You'll understand the 3 most powerful things intelligent people always keep private. Things that, once guarded, unlock a whole new level of control, peace, and progress in your life. So keep listening. Because sometimes what you don't say becomes your greatest strength. That silence you hold, it's not empty, it's full of purpose. And when you understand how to use it, you no longer feel the need to prove yourself to anyone. That's the real shift. That's where confidence is born, not from praise or attention, but from knowing who you are without needing to announce it. Because privacy isn't about hiding. It's about protecting. It's about choosing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. And intelligent people, the ones who rise above the noise, they guard their privacy like treasure. They know it's not just a preference, it's a power, a force that strengthens their mind, shields their peace, and sharpens their focus. When you keep things private, you create a buffer between your inner world and the outside chaos. You draw a line, not to push people away, but to keep your energy sacred. Because the moment you let everything out, you lose control of your own narrative. Suddenly, your life becomes a topic for others to dissect, judge, and twist. That's why intelligent people choose privacy, even when the world pushes them to overshare. Because they understand a simple truth. What people don't know, they can't ruin. What they can't see, they can't target. What they don't understand, they can't control. There is deep psychology behind this. Studies have shown that when people reveal too much of their personal lives or goals, it creates a false sense of achievement. It tricks the brain into feeling like the work is already done, when in reality it hasn't even started. That's why so many dreams die in the crowd. They're spoken too soon, praised too early, and forgotten before they've even begun. But when you keep your plans close, when you hold your thoughts in silence, something powerful happens. Your mind stays hungry, your focus stays sharp, your actions become deliberate. You move with intention, not impulse. This is the edge intelligent people have. They don't react. They don't rush to share. They don't seek validation. They understand that privacy builds pressure, and pressure builds diamonds. While others are busy talking, they are building. While others are chasing approval, they are chasing mastery. It's not just about what you say or don't say. It's about what that silence does to your spirit. It forces you to rely on yourself, to trust your vision, to become your own motivation. And that's when true discipline is born. When you keep going, not because the world is watching, but because your purpose won't let you stop. Privacy gives you space to fail quietly, to learn deeply, to grow without judgment. It protects you from the noise of comparison, the trap of competition, and the pressure to perform for others. It allows you to stay in alignment with your path even when no one understands it yet. And the result? Freedom. The freedom to move without fear, to evolve without explanation, to build something so powerful in silence that when it finally speaks for itself, no one can deny it. This is what most people miss. They think power is loud, but real power, it's quiet, it's calm, it's composed. It doesn't seek attention, it commands it naturally. That's the kind of presence you build when you make privacy your discipline. That's the kind of impact you create when your actions are louder than your words, because people respect what they can't easily figure out. They're drawn to mystery, to depth, to strength that doesn't need to be proven. So don't underestimate the value of keeping things to yourself. Not out of fear, not because you're holding back, but because you're building something real, something that doesn't need to be validated to have worth. Let others chase the spotlight. Let them need to be seen. You? Focus on the fire inside you. Let that guide you. Let that build you. Let that be enough. Because when you master the art of silence and the power of privacy, you stop living for applause. You start living for purpose. And that changes everything. You'll walk different, think different, move different. And people will notice, not because you said anything, but because you didn't have to. And when you finally decide to speak, when your silence ends with results, growth, achievement, those few words will carry more weight than 1,000 empty speeches. That is the power of holding back. That is the strength of a mind that knows exactly what it's doing. Stay quiet, stay focused, stay private, and let the world wonder how you did it. When your life becomes your own private mission, you move differently. You're no longer looking for permission to grow. You're no longer seeking applause for every small step. You're locked in, focused, grounded. And nothing, not opinions, not distractions, not fear, can pull you off your path. This is why intelligent people never reveal their next move. Not because they're unsure, not because they're secretive by nature, but because they know that silence is a strategy, a move made not out of pride, but out of discipline. Because once a plan is spoken too early, it becomes exposed to noise, and noise dilutes power. When you tell the world what you're about to do, you invite expectation, pressure, judgment, and worst of all, interference. People begin to shape your journey with their doubts, their fears, their advice you never asked for. Suddenly, your dream starts bending to fit the size of their vision, not yours. But when you protect your next move, something shifts. You're no longer building for the audience, you're building for yourself. Every decision becomes clearer, every step more intentional. The journey belongs to you and only you. There is no outside noise, only internal fire. The psychology behind this is powerful. Keeping your plans private activates what's known as intrinsic motivation, a drive that comes from within, not from praise or recognition. And this is the kind of motivation that lasts, because it's not fueled by likes, applause, or attention. It's fueled by purpose. And purpose doesn't fade when no one's watching. In fact, it only grows stronger. That's why intelligent people understand the difference between talking and doing. Talking creates the illusion of progress. It feels good, but it doesn't move you forward. Doing, on the other hand, builds quietly. It doesn't need to be seen to be real. It just needs to be done. You don't need to tell people you're about to change your life. Just do it. Let them feel the shift, not hear about it. Let them see the results, not the roadmap. Because the truth is, people respect what you accomplish far more than what you announce. There is also a spiritual side to this discipline. When you hold your vision close, you protect its energy. You keep it sacred. And sacred things should not be exposed to careless hands. When something matters deeply to you, when it's tied to your purpose, your healing, your future, then it deserves to be guarded like something holy, not marketed like something cheap. It's not about hiding, it's about choosing. Choosing who gets access to your thoughts. Choosing what gets to influence your direction. Choosing when the world gets to see what you've built. That's wisdom. That's maturity. That's power. You don't owe anyone your next move. Not until it's already done. Not until it's already real. Not until you've already become the person who made it happen. And when you move like this, quietly, steadily, privately, you start to notice something else, peace. The kind of peace that comes when your mind is no longer distracted by the need to explain yourself. The kind of peace that comes when you stop living for outside validation. That's when clarity shows up. That's when focus sharpens. That's when momentum becomes unstoppable. You don't need noise, you need results. You don't need praise, you need purpose. And you don't need anyone to understand what you're doing, only you need to understand. Because this is your life, your growth, your mission. Let your work speak so loudly you never have to. Let your progress echo in the silence you kept. And let those who once doubted wonder how you did it, without ever saying a word. When you stop telling people your next move, you take your power back. You stop leaking energy. You stop wasting breath. And you start building something that no one can shake, because no one knew it was coming. This is how you win. Quietly, relentlessly, strategically, with your eyes on the goal, your heart on fire, and your voice reserved for the day it's already done. Let the results speak. Let the silence build pressure. And let your next move stay between you and the grind until it's too big to ignore. The power of privacy doesn't end with your plans. It goes deeper, into the core of who you are. Intelligent people don't just protect their next move. They protect their emotions. Because emotions, when left exposed, become targets. When the world can see exactly what shakes you, angers you, wounds you, it learns how to control you. There is no strength in putting your pain on display for everyone to see. There is no victory in being an open book to those who haven't earned the right to read your pages. Real strength is being able to carry the weight within and still move forward, to feel everything deeply but reveal nothing carelessly. That kind of control, that's rare, and it's powerful. The moment people know what triggers you, they can manipulate you. They can use your emotions as weapons against your peace. They can twist your vulnerability into weakness. That's why the intelligent stay composed. Not because they're cold, but because they're aware. Aware that not everyone deserves access to their heart. Aware that silence is the only shield that can't be broken. There's a calm that comes with mastering your emotions, not suppressing them, not ignoring them, but owning them quietly. Processing them without seeking pity. Healing without seeking an audience. That's how intelligent people grow. Inwardly, privately, deeply. They don't need the world to validate their pain for it to be real. And they don't need to be loud about their battles for their victories to matter. This is emotional discipline, one of the most underrated forms of self-mastery. It means not giving away your reactions to things that don't deserve your energy. It means knowing how to stay centered when everything around you tries to pull you off balance. And it means choosing peace over proving a point. In a world that tells you to speak your truth and let it all out, the intelligent pause. They ask, is it necessary? Will it serve my growth? Or am I giving someone else power over me? That pause, that's wisdom. That space between the trigger and the reaction, that's where your future is shaped. You have to protect your emotions like you protect your dreams, because the wrong person with access to your feelings can break what took years to build. Your confidence, your focus, your sense of worth. One wrong voice in your space can turn a small wound into a permanent scar. That's why emotional privacy is not just healthy. It's essential. It creates boundaries that preserve your mental strength. It teaches you to lean on yourself before you lean on anyone else. To be your own sanctuary. To find peace within, not in the approval or sympathy of others. This doesn't mean shutting down. It means choosing wisely. Not everyone is meant to understand your depth. Not everyone is capable of holding space for your truth. And trying to make them see it, trying to make them care, will only drain you. The intelligent don't waste time trying to be understood by those who choose to misunderstand. They invest that energy into understanding themselves better. And once you master that emotional control, you become untouchable in a way that no amount of external success can offer. Because no one can disturb the peace they can't reach. No one can shake the core that is protected, guarded, and nurtured in silence. You start walking through storms without letting a single drop change your direction. You stop reacting to every insult, every failure, every disappointment, because you know that none of those things define you. They are moments, not your identity. This level of internal strength creates external confidence, not the kind you shout about, but the kind that people feel when you walk into a room. That calm, that quiet power, that unshakable energy. It's born from private healing, not public performance. So, if you've ever been told you're too quiet, too distant, too guarded, take it as a compliment, because it means you're not easily moved, not easily read, not easily broken. And that, in this noisy world, is a rare and beautiful thing. Stay private with your emotions. Let your heart heal in peace. Let your struggles shape you silently. Let your power rise from within, not from sympathy, not from noise, but from strength. Because the less they know, the less they can touch. And the more you guard your emotional world, the more powerful your presence becomes. You don't need to be loud to be strong. You don't need to be open to be real. You just need to be intentional with your words, your energy, your emotions. That's how intelligent people protect their power, not by showing more, but by knowing when to show less. There's another truth the intelligent understand deeply. Your personal life is not public property. Your relationships, your inner circle, your family dynamics, these are not for display. Not because you're hiding, but because you're protecting something sacred. In a world obsessed with sharing everything, keeping your personal life private is an act of rebellion and wisdom. When people know too much about who you love, who you trust, who supports you, they gain insight into your vulnerabilities. They begin to connect dots. They speculate, they judge, they assume, and slowly their opinions start to pollute what was once pure. Privacy isn't about shame or secrecy, it's about security. What others can't see, they can't poison. You don't need to prove your loyalty to anyone by exposing your personal life. You don't owe the world a seat at your most intimate table. Intelligent people know this. That's why they keep their relationships grounded, guarded, and free from external noise. They understand that love, friendship, and trust grow stronger in silence, where they are safe from envy, gossip, and misunderstanding. Psychologically, this is powerful. Studies show that relationships that are kept private, not hidden, but private, tend to be more stable and fulfilling. Because when you remove the pressure of outside opinions, people are free to be real. They're not performing. They're not filtered. They're not trying to keep up appearances. They're simply being. And that's where the real connection begins. Intelligent people aren't just selective about who they let in. They're intentional about who they keep out. Not out of arrogance, but because they've learned. They've seen what happens when personal details are handed out too freely. Trust gets diluted. Words get twisted. And what once brought peace now brings stress. So they choose privacy, not to push people away, but to pull peace closer. Your relationships don't need applause. They need alignment. They need protection. They need space to grow without performance. When you keep the most meaningful parts of your life away from public consumption, you preserve their meaning. You stop trying to explain things that were never meant to be explained. And you stop giving strangers the blueprint to your happiness. The world has trained people to equate exposure with validation, to think that if it's not posted, it's not real. But that's a lie. What's real doesn't need to be broadcasted. It just needs to be felt, nurtured, and honored in private. That's the mindset of those who move with wisdom. They don't post every victory, every moment, every connection, because they understand the value of keeping something just for themselves. Not everything needs to be shared, not everyone deserves to know, and not every moment needs to be seen to be meaningful. Some of the most powerful bonds, the deepest healing, the greatest peace, it all happens behind closed doors, without witnesses, without applause, just truth, just presence, just love. And when you protect your personal life like that, you protect your energy, you protect your peace, you protect your priorities. You stop wasting time explaining your choices to people who will never understand your journey. You stop opening doors that were never meant to be opened. There is freedom in not needing the world to approve of your circle. There is strength in knowing that what you have doesn't need to be shown to be valued. And there is deep power in choosing silence over validation. This doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means building something so strong that it doesn't require outside reinforcement. It means choosing quality over performance, depth over exposure, truth over appearances. Your private life is your sanctuary. Treat it that way. Let the world see your work, your discipline, your purpose, but keep the roots of your personal life grounded in stillness. Let them grow deep, unseen, undisturbed. Because the strongest trees are not the ones that tower above for all to see. They're the ones whose roots stretch far below, hidden in the earth, holding everything in place. Let that be your life. Strong, grounded, quietly powerful. And when people ask why they never hear about your relationships, your inner circle, your personal life, just smile. Let them wonder. Because what they don't know, they can't damage. And what they can't see, they can't take. In the silence of your privacy, you'll find peace. In the quiet of your personal world, you'll build resilience. And in the protection of what matters most, you'll grow stronger than you've ever been. This is how intelligent people live, with boundaries, with grace, with a level of self-respect that doesn't crave approval, but craves alignment, peace, and authenticity. Let that be your standard. Let that be your power. Let that be your quiet legacy. There's a kind of quiet confidence that comes from keeping your finances private. Intelligent people know this instinctively. Because the moment you reveal how much you make, what you spend, or what you own, you invite energies you didn't ask for. Envy, comparison, judgment, and even manipulation. That's not paranoia. That's reality. Human nature is complex, and few things trigger deeper reactions than money. When people see your lifestyle, they start attaching meaning to it. They assume things. They measure your worth based on your possessions. They begin to project their own insecurities or expectations onto your journey. And before you know it, your financial life becomes everyone's business, everyone's opinion, everyone's pressure. That's why intelligent people move differently, quietly. They don't announce their income. They don't show off their purchases. They don't parade success for the sake of attention. Because true wealth isn't loud. It's secure. When your financial world becomes private, you start living for purpose instead of appearance. You stop buying things to prove something. You stop spending to impress people who wouldn't care if you lost it all. You begin investing not just money, but time and energy into things that build you up instead of things that drain you. Financial privacy is freedom. Freedom from societal expectations. Freedom from judgment. Freedom from the need to keep up with anyone else's version of success. And that kind of freedom gives you the space to grow without limits. Because growth happens in peace. Not under pressure, not under comparison. In peace. Psychologically, this is about self-worth. When you tie your identity to your bank account, you build your confidence on something that can fluctuate. And that's dangerous. Because confidence built on external numbers will always be fragile. But when your self-worth is grounded in discipline, vision, and purpose, when your value isn't up for display, it becomes untouchable. That's why intelligent people stay quiet about their financial wins, not out of fear, but out of strength, because they're not chasing applause. They're chasing security, legacy, and impact. They understand that money is a tool, not a trophy. And the more quietly it's used, the more powerfully it works. You never owe anyone an explanation for how you earn, save, or spend. Not family, not friends, not strangers. Your finances are your business. Literally and emotionally. And the less people know, the less room they have to judge, influence, or interfere. Protecting your financial life doesn't mean shrinking. It means focusing. It means building in silence so you can live in stability. It means using wisdom instead of ego. Because the ones who talk the most about money often have the least power over it. But the ones who master it silently, they're the ones who create real freedom. Not just wealth, but peace. Intelligent people don't broadcast every financial milestone. They don't post every achievement or flaunt every investment because they're not seeking validation. They're seeking control. Control over their lives, their time, and their future. And control doesn't need an audience. It needs clarity. Let your success be your own. Let your income be your business. Let your spending reflect your values, not your desire to impress. The more quietly you move, the further you'll go. Because when your goals are protected from noise, they grow without limits. And when you do achieve more, when you do rise higher, you'll do so without the weight of expectations dragging you down. No one can sabotage what they don't see. No one can question what they don't know. That's how you win, by keeping the most valuable parts of your life guarded. This isn't about secrecy. It's about sovereignty. It's about owning your life without needing approval. It's about knowing that real wealth isn't what people see. It's what gives you the ability to live on your own terms, in your own way, without compromising who you are. So be disciplined. Be intentional. Let your money work while you stay silent. Let your habits create success while your privacy protects it. And let your life speak so powerfully that your words are never needed. The less people know about your financial life, the more power you have over it. The more you keep your income, savings, investments, and financial goals between you and your mission, the more peace you will experience. Because no one can criticize a journey they don't understand, and no one can destroy a future they can't see. This is how intelligent people move. Quietly, wisely, powerfully. Not to hide, but to preserve what matters, not to impress, but to protect what they've built. Let that be your mindset. Let that be your discipline. Let that be your edge. There's a kind of power that doesn't shout. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It doesn't announce its presence. It simply is. That's the power of your next move. The goals you're working on, the dreams you're shaping, the transformation that's happening within you, these deserve silence. Not because they aren't worthy of celebration, but because they're still forming. And nothing beautiful grows under constant exposure. Intelligent people protect their future plans like a flame in the wind, shielded, guarded, carefully nurtured, because they understand the weight of energy. When you speak too soon, you invite resistance. Not everyone will understand your vision. Some will doubt it, some will envy it, and some will secretly hope it fails. That's not pessimism, it's reality. Human nature is layered, and your dreams are too sacred to be tossed into the opinions of others. There's strength and restraint in knowing you're building something massive, yet having the patience to let it unfold in silence. That kind of discipline is rare, but it's powerful. Because when you stop needing others to validate your direction, you begin to walk with clarity. You move with purpose. You act from conviction, not for applause. Most people talk too much about what they're going to do. They make promises, declarations, bold statements, but intelligent people let their actions speak. They know that real results don't come from public announcements. They come from private commitment. From long nights, early mornings, focused effort, and relentless consistency behind closed doors. The truth is, when you talk about your goals too early, your brain gets tricked. It starts to feel a false sense of accomplishment just from the reaction you get. Compliments, encouragement, admiration, they feel good, but they can kill momentum because your brain begins to relax as if the work is already done. That's a psychological trap. And the intelligent avoid it. They protect the hunger. They protect the fire. They don't let praise soften their drive. They delay recognition until after the outcome because they know that real success is quiet in the making and loud in the results. That's how you build something that lasts, not something that just looks good for a moment. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. It gives you space to pivot without judgment. It gives you freedom to fail and adjust without spectators. It gives your vision the room to breathe and evolve without outside pressure. That kind of space is rare, and it's priceless. Not everyone needs to know what you're planning. Not everyone deserves access to your vision. Your goals are not community property. They are deeply personal, and the more personal they are, the more powerful they become. Because you're no longer building for attention, you're building for impact. And when the time comes, when the results are undeniable, when the growth is visible, when the transformation is complete, then the silence will make sense. Because people won't remember what you said. They'll remember what you did. They'll see the strength in how you moved without noise. How you focused when others were distracted. How you remained grounded when others were chasing applause. This level of discipline isn't common, but it's necessary if you want uncommon results. The world is noisy. Everyone's talking. Everyone's performing, but few are actually executing in silence. That's your advantage. That's how you separate yourself, not with louder promises, but with deeper work. Protect your next move. Hold it close. Let it grow strong roots before it faces the wind. Let it gain momentum in the shadows before it steps into the light. Because once it's exposed, it will be tested. People will question it, challenge it, try to shape it. But if you've built it in silence, with intention, it will stand. It won't need defending. It will speak for itself. This is the mindset of the intelligent. This is the discipline of the focused. This is the edge of those who understand the value of privacy. Not as fear, but as fuel. Every great leap begins in quiet preparation. Every breakthrough is born in hidden persistence. And every unstoppable success is rooted in the strength of what no one saw coming. Let your next chapter be built in silence. Let your progress be hidden until it's undeniable. Let your evolution be personal until it becomes powerful. You don't need noise. You need focus. You don't need approval. You need alignment. And you don't need to be seen right now. You need to become so powerful that when you finally are, the world has no choice but to notice. That's how you rise. That's how you lead. That's how you win. Quietly, strongly, unapologetically. Let the world guess. Let them wonder. Let them talk while you work, while you grow, while you build the kind of life that doesn't just speak, it roars. Privacy is more than just silence. It's a shield for your inner peace. It's what protects your emotional strength in a world that constantly tries to pull it apart. Intelligent people understand that the more others know about what shakes you, the easier it becomes to manipulate you. That's why they guard their emotional struggles with the same intensity as their ambitions. Not out of shame, but out of wisdom. Because not everyone who listens cares. And not everyone who asks wants to help. When you open your soul to the wrong people, you risk handing over the blueprint to your destruction. Every weakness you reveal, every vulnerability you confess, becomes potential ammunition in the hands of someone who doesn't have your best interests at heart. This world isn't always kind, and people aren't always honest. That's the brutal truth. But facing it gives you power. The strongest minds are not the ones who never break. They're the ones who know when to speak and when to stay silent. They don't share everything just to feel seen. They process, they reflect, they grow in solitude. They know that emotional maturity isn't about exposing your pain to be validated. It's about facing your pain in private so that when you show up in public, you're grounded, not seeking rescue. You don't owe anyone access to your mental battles. You don't have to justify your healing process, your boundaries, your emotional shifts. The people who genuinely care will respect your space. The ones who don't will show their true colors when you refuse to perform your struggle for them. And that clarity is a gift. There's a kind of peace that comes from keeping certain emotions sacred. When you don't need the world to understand your wounds, you stop bleeding for their comfort. You stop begging for validation. You begin to heal from within for yourself, not for attention. It's easy to overshare in a culture that glorifies vulnerability as performance. But real strength isn't loud, it's quiet. It's in the discipline to sit with your pain, learn from it, and rise without applause. It's in the courage to hold yourself through your darkest nights without broadcasting your breakdowns. It's in the power to rebuild from ruins without asking anyone to watch. When you hold your emotional life close, you give yourself room to grow without pressure. You remove the expectations of others from your healing timeline. You become free to feel fully, without commentary. And that freedom is the soil where emotional resilience is born. The most intelligent people aren't emotionally detached. They're emotionally sovereign. They choose who gets to know their storms. They choose when to open up and when to protect their energy. That choice, intentional, disciplined, and clear,